Alright guys, welcome back. This might be a weird looking model right here because I only have demand and marginal revenue curves and I have two sets of each of them. So let's talk about what's happening here. We're talking about how we're going to be moving from the short run to the long run. We know that monopolistically competitive firms can make a positive economic profit in the short run. We know that when that happens, other firms are going to be induced to enter into that market, and so that's going to return the monopolistic competitive firm to a zero economic profit. On the other hand, if firms were losing, some firms in that industry will exit, and that will cause the others who stayed, they will then go from making losses to back to zero economic profit. So how exactly does this happen? Well, the way it happens is going to be, so we're looking at for an individual firm in monopolistic competition, and we're looking at what happens when other firms enter, how that affects this firm's demand and MR curves, okay? So this is a little backwards seeming, so if you glance at this and are like entry and left, that doesn't make sense. Let me explain it. So the idea here, so again, monopolistic competitive firm, we're talking about our industry, something with a lot of competitors, right? Many firms, their products are differentiated, which is why we have that downward sloping demand curve, but they're competing for the same customers. So I want you to think of the food court example. It's kind of a classic example for monopolistic competition, but I think it works well. So think of food court, and let's say that that food court has currently 5 different vendors. All right, so they have like a Burger King, Taco Bell, what's that? Like the pizza place. It has a Cajun chicken place or something like that. I don't know. It has a few places, right? They have 5. They're all earning positive economic profits. Well, what's going to happen? Our idea is that other firms are going to want to enter. And so let's say that there is space and they're able to add a 6th and a 7th vendor to the food court that's already there. All right, so we've had entry. 2 vendors have been added to the food court. How does that affect the firm that's already there? Well, that's going to actually reduce the demand for their product, because now instead of competing against 4 other firms, they're competing against 6 other firms or what have you. So what's happening here is now the consumer has more options, and some of them might choose to go to one of the 2 new places. Now obviously it's the goal of the monopolistic competitive firm to keep their customers and to in fact gain new customers. That's why they advertise, that's why they try to innovate, that's why they have new products that they're always offering, or specials and deals and all that stuff. That's why those things happen, because they have to compete so strongly to keep their customers. But when we have entry, that's going to force the individual firm, remember this is not a market curve, this is the individual firm, their demand curve is going to shift to the left. When their demand curve shifts to the left, we know that marginal revenue is attached to that demand curve, because the marginal revenue is based on whatever price the demand curve is showing us is being generated. So they are both going to shift to the left. So I drew them in pairs where I had the original demand curve and marginal revenue are both blue. They would both shift to the left, and so they'd be something like the red. Now when we think about this, I don't have the ATC curve and the MC curve and those other curves drawn here, but what's happening here is, remember, we were originally making an economic profit, so our ATC was lower than the price. When our demand curve shifts to the left, guess what's happening? Our price is falling. Where do you think it's going to fall to? It is going to fall to ATC. And so in the long run, we're going to end up, and that's the next video, it has a graph, don't worry. But the idea here is that when this curve shifts to the left, it's going to take us to long run equilibrium, where our price will in fact be equal to ATC. Exit works basically just the same way, it's just the opposite. In this case, we had our 5 vendors, but we were making economic losses, so one of them or somebody's going to leave. So we get on to 4 vendors. Now there's only 4 vendors to divide up those same customers, so the demand for each individual vendor's product could potentially increase. So we're going to have our demand curve shift to the right. That's going to cause our MR curve to shift along with it to the right. Again, we were making losses originally here. That's why somebody exited. So what's going to happen is our price was below ATC. Now that we shift to the right, our price will become equal to ATC, and we will be in long run equilibrium. All right, hope this helps. Till next time, guys. This has been a La Money production.